The film opens with a young, injured, and frightened woman wandering through the woods alone. Suddenly, someone rushes out from behind, startling her. In her panic, she hides behind a tree, but soon is captured by a group of men who accuse her of being a witch. One of the armed men strikes her unconscious with a gun. Later, they restrained her to a tree, covering her head with a cloth inside a cabin in the woods. A shaman prepares to perform a ritual using an ancient and cursed book in order to expel an evil spirit. The girl pleads with them to let her return home. Meanwhile, a man approaches her and removes the cloth, leaving the girl in disbelief as the man is her father. The man assures her that they are good people and are here to help her. The girl then asks about her mother, and the man reveals that her mother is no longer alive because she was killed by her own hand. He pours gasoline over her, asking for her forgiveness. When the girl begs him to look at her, he turns away, causing the demon to emerge. The man ignites his possessed daughter with fire, as she is no longer his daughter. While getting buried in hell, the demon promises he will return soon. Years later, a jeep arrives at a secluded cabin in the woods. David steps out while Olivia, a registered nurse, is already there waiting for him. David introduces his girlfriend, Natalie, to Olivia. Eric steps in and lightly scolds David for making them wait all morning. David brushes it off and hugs Eric, who informs him that his sister Mia is in the back. The scene shifts to Mia, who is sketching a cabin while seated on a wrecked vehicle. When David approaches her, Mia is upset because he has returned after being gone for so long. However, her anger dissipates when she sees their pet dog, Grandpa. Mia asks David to promise her that he will stay with her until the end, and he agrees. Later, all the friends gather around a well where Mia makes a vow to never use drugs again and discards them into the well. After that, they enter the deserted cabin only to find it dark and smelly. Observing the mess inside, David realizes that some teenagers must have broken in to drink and party. Mia mentions that their mom would have been really upset to see the cabin in such a mess. Turns out, this place means a lot to both her and David since it's been in their family for ages. Mia steps into a room and sees the walls covered with their family photos. It hits her hard. Then David walks in and Mia can't help but ask if he remembers their mom's last days at the hospital. She tells him how their mom sometimes confused her with him, even called her David for a whole day. David replies that he wished he could have been there, but by the time things got really bad, he had a job in Chicago. He tried to get back, but it was too late. Later, they're all cleaning up the cabin, trying to scrub away the grime. Olivia approaches David and brings up the times they tried to keep Mia away from drugs. She reminds him that every time, Mia made some big promise to stay sober, but it never lasted more than a few hours. Olivia insists that Mia will break her promise again, and this time they need to keep her there and away from everything because it's the only way to help her. David doesn't really agree and just walks away. That night, David hears Mia screaming from her room. He walks in and finds Olivia trying to calm her down. Mia keeps saying she can't handle the awful smell anymore, but no one else seems to notice anything. Olivia gives her some sedatives, which will help. Mia insists there's something dead nearby that smells terrible, but again, nobody can smell it. Meanwhile, Grandpa gets curious about something under the carpet. David removes the sheet and reveals the floor is soaked in blood, like something horrible happened there. Eric, Olivia, Natalie, Mia, and David were all just standing there, totally shocked by what they stumbled upon. David decides to check out this trapdoor, and man, as soon as he lifts it, a terrible smell hits them from the basement. Eric and David head down the creaky stairs and they catch a whiff of something like burnt hair coming from another room. They push open the door and what they see is just gross. There are a bunch of stinky carcasses hanging upside down and twigs are stuck right through them. That pillar in the corner looks like it was used for something dark. Then they spot a table with a book wrapped up, just sitting there next to some dead cats. Seriously, at that point it's kind of obvious that whatever was going on here was probably tied to witchcraft or something sinister. As they're backing away, Mia chimes in, warning everyone that they really shouldn't have touched anything in the basement. Everyone starts to leave the room, except Eric. He's totally fixated on that book wrapped in barbed wire, like it's got some kind of hold on him. Eric, totally clueless about what he's getting himself into, slices through the wire and starts tearing open this cursed book. At first, he's just staring at it like it's some weird artifact. He starts flipping through the pages, and with every turn, he finds these dangerous messages that just give off bad vibes. There's even something scratched out that he can't make sense of. But being the curious guy he is, Eric cracks the code and ends up chanting a few words he really shouldn't have. Every time he does that, you can feel this dark energy darting to the cabin like it's been let loose. Outside, it's pouring rain, and Mia doesn't look good. She's feeling dreadfully sick and suddenly spots this creepy figure in the woods just staring her down. Naturally, she freaks out, dashes back to the cabin, and starts grabbing her stuff ready to leave. Olivia tries to calm her down, saying their party hasn't even kicked off yet. but Mia snaps back, convinced she's losing it. Then David and Eric show up, insisting she can't leave. They think she's just faking it, wanting to score some drugs after ditching them. Mia is begging David to take her home, but David refuses. Mia gets angry with him. She grabs the car keys and storms off into the rain, determined to get away. Everyone's yelling to stop her, but she's already out the door. Mia knows something's off with her, but everyone thinks she's just overreacting. Just as she's driving, she sees a wounded woman standing in the middle of the road, and it freaks her out. She slams on the brakes, swerves, and the car ends up stuck in the swamp. Mia can hardly comprehend what she just witnessed, but she brushes it off and exits the car. At that moment, something extremely sinister is racing towards her from the woods. Just as she barely makes it across, she encounters a demonic entity that terrifies her, compelling her to flee for her life. In her panic, Mia stumbles into the branches and becomes trapped. The malevolent branches begin to constrict around her. Shortly thereafter, the demonic entity manifests before her, extracting her serpent-like tongue and taking control of Mia's body. Olivia and David are desperately searching for Mia and discover her cowering under a tree. They take her back to the cabin to care for her. Olivia tells the others that Mia is mentioning a woman in the woods, but they think Mia has lost her sanity. Olivia reveals that she has removed all the thorns from Mia's body and believes Mia is acting out intentionally in an effort to escape and revert to her former habits. David heads to Mia's room to suggest she take a shower, but instead, Mia implores him to leave the cabin with her. She insists there is something in the woods that has come with them. David dismisses her claims, convinced it is all in her imagination, and walks out of the room. Mia turns to the mirror and sees the malevolent spirit reflected back. Meanwhile, Eric is tirelessly trying to decode the ancient text in the book. He finds a page depicting a victim ensnared by tree creepers, which mirrors Mia's experience. David ventures into the basement, retrieves a plastic bag filled with deceased cats, and carries it outside to throw it in the trash. Nearby, he notices a trail of blood and follows it to the burrow, calling for his dog Grandpa. When he arrives at the burrow, he discovers his dog lying still inside. In a state of panic, David pulls Grandpa from the burrow, only to find him brutally slain. He then spots a mallet nearby and realizes that Mia has violently killed Grandpa. David goes to Mia's room and knocks on the door, asking her to open it, but she does not respond as she is carelessly taking a shower. Mia turns the knob, raising the geyser's temperature, and as it reaches an extreme level, the geyser ignites, releasing scalding hot water. Mia's body begins to burn from the contact with the water. With no other option, David breaks into the room and saves Mia just in the nick of time, though significant injury has already occurred, leaving everyone stunned. He places her in the Jeep and drives her to the hospital, while Mia foams at the mouth. Back at the cabin, Eric flips through the cursed book and finds a page depicting a victim scalding herself with boiling water, exactly what Mia has just done. As David heads to the hospital, he is taken aback to see that the river has overflowed, blocking his path. Turning around, he glances at Mia, who has an unsettling smirk. David decides to bring her back to the cabin, where Olivia tends to her. Olivia informs David that she administered a sedative, ensuring Mia will be unconscious for a few hours. Suddenly, Mia emerges from her room wielding a gun, shocking everyone. David pleads with her to lower the weapon, but Mia acts erratically and fires at him, fortunately missing. Then, with a scream, Mia warns them that they will all die tonight before collapsing onto the floor. Olivia attempts to seize the gun, but the demon within Mia overpowers her, spewing blood onto her. Eric quickly locks the door to prevent the evil from escaping. Olivia states that the sedative she gave Mia was sufficient to induce a coma. David tells her to fetch another dose of sedative. Eric attempts to convince David that no tranquilizer will be effective since they are facing something much more perilous than a panic attack. He argues that Mia's situation is tied to witchcraft in the basement. Frightened, Olivia mixes a sedative in the washroom when she sees her demonic self in the mirror, which terrifies her. As she rushes out, she becomes possessed by the demon and freezes in place. Olivia even urinates in her pants while under this possession. When Olivia doesn't return, Eric grows anxious and starts to search for her. When he enters her room, he discovers her in a corner, cutting her own face with a knife. Shocked, Eric trips over Olivia's severed tongue and bangs his head against the toilet. The possessed Olivia violently stabs him with a piece of glass. Afterward, she seizes the sedative and repeatedly jabs him with it. Nevertheless, Eric manages to shove her away. As Olivia crawls towards him with a knife, Eric retaliates by hitting her with a broken piece of the toilet, resulting in her death. David removes the shard and tries to stop the bleeding with tape. Eric informs David that the thing he killed wasn't Olivia, but David doesn't hear him and asks Natalie to fetch some water. Eric explains that he read a passage from the book they discovered in the basement, which was a sort of prayer, and he unknowingly released something malevolent. As Natalie rushes to get water and prepares to leave, Mia starts to manipulate her mind, urging Natalie to help her escape the basement. Natalie becomes entranced and steps into the basement where the demon inhabiting Mia warns her they cannot leave. Frightened, Natalie attempts to flee but is unable to do so. A short time later, Natalie regains consciousness in the basement and sees a demonic version of Mia approaching her. Soon after, the demon bites her hand and splits its tongue with a knife before forcefully kissing Natalie. At that moment, David arrives and pulls Natalie out of the basement, securing the door with chains to prevent the demon from escaping. Eric attempts to destroy the cursed book, believing it will put an end to this, but the book refuses to burn. David questions him about his actions, and Eric retrieves the book from the fire, explaining that it contains an ancient alphabet linked to a malevolent being, a soul taker. The text indicates that once the demon consumes 5 souls, the heavens will bleed, and the abomination will emerge from hell, and that the demon is latched onto Mia's soul like a leech. Eric tells David that to stop this, they must kill Mia. David, upon hearing this, lashes out, insisting that it's merely a disease or virus afflicting Mia, and nothing more. Meanwhile, in the washroom, Natalie notices that the bite on her hand is becoming infected, and soon finds herself under the demon's control, trapped in the basement. Natalie chooses to sever her arm with a chainsaw rather than surrender to the demon. Hearing her agonizing scream, David and Eric rush into the room and discover that Natalie has cut off her arm since it was her only option. David attends to her wound and wraps her arm in bandages. Meanwhile, Eric reads from the book and learns that to stop this, the possessed needs to be cleansed, and the book mentions 3 methods: alive burial, bodily dismemberment, and purification by fire. David questions whether he truly believes that killing Mia will resolve the situation. Eric replies with conviction that it will, and explains that whatever resides within Mia is causing all of this chaos. If Mia dies, the demon will die too. David poses the concern of whether Mia might be mentally ill, leaving Eric speechless. David discloses that their troubled mother died in a mental institution and had severe issues. He admits to always fearing that he and Mia might end up like her. Eric accuses David of cowardice and claims he lacks the courage to see it through. He declares his intention to burn down the cabin and put an end to the horror. Suddenly, Natalie, under demonic control, appears and launches nails at him from a machine. Under the demon's influence, she violently assaults Eric with nails. Out of nowhere, David lunges at her, bringing her down. He attempts to grab the gun, but the possessed Natalie unexpectedly strikes him with a bar, mercilessly beating him. She then turns her attention to Eric, injuring his hand severely. As she gets ready to deliver a final blow, David incapacitates her by shooting her in the hand, leaving her with just one arm. Shortly after Natalie collapses and dies on the floor, David takes Eric out of the cabin, urging him to hang in there, but Eric insists he'd rather die than become the monster's puppet. David then goes back into the cabin and starts pouring gasoline with the intention of setting it ablaze. At that moment, Mia begins to manipulate him by singing a lullaby their mother used to sing when they were kids. Just as this happens, lightning strikes a tree outside. David is swept away and opens the basement door. He descends into the basement, looking for Mia, but she unexpectedly ambushes him, slamming him against the wall. She submerges his head, attempting to drown him. Against all odds, Eric suddenly appears and attacks Mia with a crowbar, giving David the opportunity to inject her with a sedative. David then approaches Eric, who tells him he missed him greatly during his absence. Moments later, he dies. David carries Mia outside to the grave. Following the instructions in the book, he buries Mia alive, covering her head with a plastic bag. The demon within Mia resurfaces and starts to manipulate David, questioning why he hates her, leaving him stunned. The demon unveils David's repressed emotions, accusing him of abandoning Mia and their sick mother when they needed him the most. He promised to come back, but never did. The demon shocks him with the claim that his mother despises him and is waiting for him in hell. David steels himself and continues to bury the demon until it is entirely concealed underground. David expresses his remorse to Mia for not being there for his family. Soon after, he exhumes her and attempts to revive her using a makeshift defibrillator, but Mia does not come back to life, leaving David in solitude. As he turns to head back to the cabin, Mia's voice calls out to him, indicating that his attempts were not in vain. David goes to retrieve the car keys from the cabin, but suddenly Eric, possessed by the demon, stabs him with pliers. David collapses and urges Mia to flee, but she refuses, compelling him to push her out of the cabin and lock himself inside with the demon. The demon warns David that the abomination is on its way. In a desperate attempt, David shoots a gasoline tank, instantly igniting a blast that destroys the cabin and sacrifices his life. Following this, the sky begins to bleed, showering Mia in blood while the abomination rises from the depths of hell. Filled with panic, Mia jumps into the jeep, trying to escape the forest, but the abomination drags her out. She frantically crawls into a burrow to evade it, and manages to reach the cabin. Grabbing a chainsaw, she prepares to confront the abomination that is pursuing her. Mia darts down a narrow hallway, yet the abomination continues its assault with a cleaver. She successfully breaks through a wall with the chainsaw, and hides underneath the jeep, hoping to evade detection as the abomination searches for her. Just in time, she manages to start the chainsaw and cleaves the abomination's legs, incapacitating it. However, the abomination retaliates by flipping the Jeep over Mia, pinning her hand. Desperate to escape before the abomination can seize her, Mia tears off her arm and grabs the chainsaw. She revs it up and slices the abomination's head in half, sending it back to hell. As the Demon King falls, the blood rain ceases almost immediately. With a heavy heart, Mia witnesses the sunrise, and that's how it all ends.